Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Karis May, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Jared Thompson, the great-nephew of this evening's Roll of Honour story, Private Albert Sampson Hooper. We also welcome the extended family of Private Albert Sampson Hooper, whose story will be read shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From Queensland, St Peter's Lutheran College Junior School, Indooroopilly, and Calvary Christian College Secondary Department, Mount Louisa. And from Western Australia, Gooseberry Hill Primary School. To commence this evening's ceremony, I invite you all to stand and join in singing the National Anthem, which tonight will be led by the Gooseberry Hill School Choir. Thank you, boys and girls. If you like, you may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for over more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Albert Sampson Hooper. Albert Hooper was born in March 1916, one of 5 children of Thomas and Edith Hooper of Tootle in central East Riverina, New South Wales. After attending Tootle Public School, Hooper worked as a labourer on a wheat farm and was later engaged in digging irrigation channels. Hooper enlisted in the Army in April 1941. His decision upset his parents and siblings, but he believed that at least one member of the family should go to the war, and he, as the fittest, was willing to volunteer. After a period of training at Royal Park in Melbourne, Hooper was posted to the 2nd 21st Battalion, which was based in Darwin and had been earmarked to reinforce Dutch troops on the island of Ambon in the event of a Japanese attack. On the 8th of December 1941, Japan attacked British and American bases with near-simultaneous offensives against Southeast Asia and the Central Pacific. Days later, Australian troops of the 2nd 21st sailed for Ambon to join elements of the 18th Anti-Tank Battery, the 2nd 11th Field Company and the 2nd 12th Field Ambulance to form what became known as Gull Force. Once on Ambon, Hooper and the rest of the 2nd 21st Battalion faced a precarious position. Transport was difficult and rations and ammunition were limited. The combined Dutch and Australian force of 3,700 troops was overwhelmed when 3 battalions of Japanese Marines began landing on Ambon on the night of 30th of January 1942. Private Hooper was among the surviving members of Gull Force that were forced to surrender to Japanese troops on the 3rd of February. Imprisoned at their former barracks at Tantui, conditions were so harsh that 77% of those imprisoned on Ambon did not survive the war. According to those who were with him, Hooper enjoyed good health in the prisoner of war camp until the last year, when he gradually weakened, like everybody else, on account of the shortage of food. Despite suffering from tropical ulcers, which wore down his physical condition over the following 2 years, Hooper carried on by sheer spirit and determination long after his body was worn out. He was admitted to the Tantui Camp Hospital on 15th of July 1945, suffering from beriberi. He died 3 days later. Aged 29 at the time of his death, Hooper is buried at the Ambon War Cemetery. After the war, some of Hooper's mates who survived the ordeal on Ambon wrote to his parents to describe their son's final moments and to reassure them that death came to him as a happy release. To them, we knew him as a true and trusted friend and a gallant comrade. In a desperate place where every man lived for himself, your son was honest to the end, took advantage of no man, and always had consideration for others. As consolation, they informed Hooper's parents that the Ambon survivors all conveyed their sympathy and pay their respects to Albert, a son of whom you may be justly proud and a mate on whom we could always depend. Believe me when I say he will never be forgotten by us. Hooper's name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Albert Sampson Hooper, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Would you all please stand for the ode and last post?
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn them. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We would like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.